All right, I have 6 o'clock. We'll move ahead and call the finance committee meeting to order. Looks like we have all members present. I do appreciate your attendance. If you will, take a few minutes to look over our meeting, look from the December meeting. It's the meeting December 5th. We met with Wesley Robertson in the mayor's office. If you will take a few minutes to look over that, I'm going to a motion. We need to have anything changed here before we're ready to go.
Motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as written here. You did want that, I mean, and if that's all those in favor, please let me know by stating aye. Any opposed, nay? All in favor, let's have it. Minutes are permanent record. Will your next piece here, you got county trustees balance. You got Miss Amy has got some numbers here for us in a few places. Let's look at these, see if there's anything. I hope you've taken, had a chance to look over a few places of where we are currently. Notice this was as of December 31st, so that's roughly 6 months, half a year, 50% is what we'll be at here in the next minutes. Look pretty stable, did it not? Are there any questions, anybody, anything you will bring out on the county trustee balance, trial balance?
I got one question. Are any of the ARPA funds, is any of this money being going forward to any projects we got? Or do we actually have this much left in?
This is your cash balance. So that does not include any checks that haven't been written yet. I mean, this is just what's sitting in the bank.
That's what you had in the bank. Right?
Yes,
So out of this ARPA, at that point, that means the playground, that stuff that's been allocated will still be,
but it's been allocated. The checks just have not been written.
that's what I'm getting at, so that money is allocated.
Mhm.
Would that include the money for the lights as well, or have they already been written?
The lights was taken out of other funding, if I remember correctly. I want to say that was taken out of local government support, so that was out of 101. The check has not been written yet. So it's still in there.
So those are two pretty large notes we're talking about, they're still,
Mhm.
these 600,000 and 800 and 200 something.
Right.
So that's great, 230, think like that. So that means the courthouse is 800,000, that's well is still in.
Now that's been paid.
So we found that piece that was paid up for,
Okay. So that ain't a business.
so that 800,000 is not on this, there's a check that's already been written.
Correct.
That was 2 amounts.
This is our cash balance. When we get to the ARPA down at the bottom.
There is one other in 2 minutes coming up that has our last thing actually for that as well. Any other pieces on the trial balance you want that you saw? This thing is the general capital projects, 171, 300,000.
So over the years, that has been the pass-through account for CDBG for the water department. Currently, that is where the 300,000 for the core civic, their annual administration fees, that is where it's being deposited to. That fund is used, as it says, for capital projects.
So that is that money that was negotiated there that, okay,
Mhm.
that's kind of a new number we're seeing there.
Right, you're used to seeing that, what is it, the 21? I can't even find it on here. Yeah, the 18,684 is what you're used to seeing, but yeah, it's bumped up a little bit with that 300,000.
That makes a big difference. That's why I was asking, what's that 300,000? All right. You see your comparisons there from December of last year, December of this year, roughly where we are in revenues and taxes. Each of the funds is one fund balance. See anything anybody wants to bring out here?
Like the revenue. From 60 to 47. Expensive, it's not even.
You were talking about revenues down there.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, I think as we get over here a little bit further, we're gonna see some revenues, might see some things that are definitely not bringing anything at this point at all.
Right. Like in 101, the ARPA funding that has been allocated for 101, those checks haven't been written yet. So that's going to skew your revenue numbers quite a bit.
Say it one more time.
The ARPA funding that's been allocated for 101, the check has not been written from the ARPA funds to the 101. I think it's in 127 right now. That just hasn't been written to 101 just yet. And that's going to be your park funding and the revenue loss funding that's supposed to go over to 101.
We start here looking at general 101. These are our revenues streams that are coming in on 101 as of December of 22. Roughly should be at 50%. Notice our local option sales tax seems to be coming in a little short here. I know last year it ran behind. We had an issue with some payments that got skipped in there some way. We had to go back and say, hey, there was a miss, might have been 2 years ago now. Are we up to date? Is that completely up to date?
But well, they're always a month behind,
So it is a month behind. That's why.
always a month behind. Most of your business tax comes in the spring.
Look at this project deck from coming back and this is. There's all of them.
It's sitting there holding me for a while.
So it's just where it is.
I didn't see anything here that's hugely jumped out myself. I saw our building permits look to be down a little bit this time of year. And that was one thing we might, keep an eye on going forward as well there. Not hugely off, but definitely are running a little lower on those. That's 41,520.
They say that number slow up even more yet. With the mortgage rates continue to decline.
Yeah, that's one reason I highlighted that one, keep our eyes on going forward. We're already seeing a decline, so over expected.
Maybe there's 44 million, is that errors?
Yes.
We're already well over 100% on that, so that figure's gonna climb even more. Which will allow us to have a little surplus if we need it somewhere else.
If I see anything else in the 101 on revenues,
I just want to ask what these other local revenues are.
where you at, Mr. Ford?
44,990.
Those are police reports. And actually that's split into about 5 different categories. That's your pool rentals, your park rentals, your community center rentals, and police reports.
We're running through the department forms. The first thing is on
Should
the
be revenue.
revenue coming in.
And you remember your sales tax is running a month behind, so
Yeah.
we're running at a pretty good place there. That's great.
And as I was saying, like, where did it go? The 48,130 line, the contributions, that's the ARPA funding that should be transferred over. And also the 46,390 other health and welfare grants, that's your park grant. And that's, of course, that hasn't started just yet. So that's holding back your revenue percentage as well.
The litter program, 44, 46, 430 is like 46. Budget 44.
They always run about 2 to 3 months behind. They're just very slow to get their reimbursements back.
That little program is still budgeting to the. Lost my train of thought. That is where the sheriff's department uses to pay for our litter pickup and some of those pieces.
Yes.
Correct? That's where I was trying to go with that.
That's connected to 55,720 in expenses.
How long is our contract good with Smith County?
It was a 5-year contract with Smith County. So, okay.
5 years?
Mhm.
All right, well, if there are no other questions there, you've got your expenses in the 101.
I have one question on that. What all is in other charges? That's rated up so much.
Well, that is your insurance premiums, which is an annual payment due at the first of the year. Workers' comp, fuel charges are also taken out of that.
So that'll change itself out as the year goes by.
As the year goes on, that number is very skewed just because you have a lot of upfront payments in July.
Well, premiums, you said insurance premiums that you will from July. Workers' comp.
Yep.
Out of 50, 500, is it similar that it would rate over time?
Yes, so that is where all of our contributions to nonprofits, those are also paid out in July. I don't think we have any other payments coming out of that. So that actually should hold for the rest of the year.
You know, offhand, how many nonprofits we have? I know some of them, I don't know if I know them all.
You have the Chamber, Hats, Mid-Cumberland. We did not do the Help Center this year. They did not ask for any. I think that is your main ones. I think I'm forgetting one, but I can't think of it off the top of my head right now.
What are the questions to bring out in one, in this case, for the expenses? Expenditures. If not, we'll move on to 11, urban services.
Like everything looks good with urban services. Good, it remains his way, good, doing good.
So is that building permits there? Or because it's building permits in that urban service district, is that why that was,
I believe that is correct.
that's why the allocation is that way? So it's about what's building permits, what's inside.
He usually got all the wood and we got it more. Try to have the urban services, but
Understood. Nothing else inside the 111, we'll move further to the 116 solid waste. You mentioned recycled materials. I wondered if, when I saw that myself, I noticed it, and we've been holding cardboard for quite a while. I wonder if Mr. Lee wanted.
I don't know if he has or not. I know he always waits for the best price
That's
before he
great.
sells.
That's why I wanted that to jump so much. We maybe moved a lot of. He had told us recently he had a large amount waiting to move the price of this. Anything else in the 116? We will. Looking at your 118, your ambulance service. $55,130 is all expenditures, so is that? No, that doesn't break down, is that all?
That's all the expenditures for ambulance. I can start working it out to where it's broken down, if you'd like to see that.
Are they making any runs to the prison at all now?
I do not know that answer.
They are. I have talked to the board last week, you said they were.
the patient charges is pretty. I mean, on course. Only 1% there, I mean. I thought we slowed down on patient room, it looks like that's the charge.
Nothing else on 118, we'll move ahead from 21. This is just pass through money. That's our 14th. So So really nothing we have, it's just in and out. 122, your county drug. If I'm not mistaken, this one always lags behind on revenues. It comes in at a March or April range.
Really, it's kind of a dormant fund in many ways. He doesn't really use it too much. This year, he actually used it to get some law enforcement supplies.
We get anything for handling any of that money now. We used to not get anything. I don't know if we do that or not.
It doesn't look like it. It's just mainly your fines and fees for county drug.
You mentioned for purchasing equipment.
Mhm.
I think this is one of the line items that some of the new weaponry and things of that nature is what he told us.
I
back.
believe that is correct.
Moving on, 151. We got services. We did look at that as well in the printout that we brought us here with, you know, one thing that to keep our eye on certainly is increase there for sure in interest rates. As we have seen those go, and I know we're only seeing back in July, but if you'll take it back and go there on their in records, you go back to this time last year, literally 12 months ago, and we're looking at just above 1% of those numbers, so they've greatly increased. It's something we need to keep our eye on. We don't have a lot of debt, but two of those debts in our debt service piece are on variable rates, so those will be something we need to keep an eye on because they are our two largest debts as well. Something to be closely, you know, you're looking at $3.4 million on variable rate right now. In debt.
Does that rate change monthly?
Yes,
Okay,
it's
yeah.
budgeted on 3%, but it does change monthly.
What is it priced to?
Um,
Is it priced to Brown or is it priced to Labor or?
I
Bills?
don't know exactly.
Well, that's something we can hedge for. I said
Yeah.
that's something we need to do now.
I'll go look at my invoices and get an answer for you.
I think we need to bring that we can on debt, what we can afford to get out of much of that high interest rates as far as we can.
Certainly looking at those that are high interest rates and with a continued look at increasing those interest rates.
Well, those one rates is fixed.
Two
This
years,
one down here is fixed.
yes, sir. The 716,000 is
So in
fixed.
fact, that one is fixed.
It's paid off. So your JSMS roof project is the one item here that is
Yeah.
on a fixed rate. I think all schools are on school pieces that we've done in the past have been on a fixed rate. The other two there are variable rates, your criminal justice center.
This is paid off, this one,
Yes, sir. The administrative building,
but it's fixed, so. I don't know, if it's fixed, and you know what percentage it's fixed at,
2.17%.
over here,
Yes,
yes,
sir.
yeah. That's it. Well, that one we don't have to worry about, but we can do any on the others. It will help us in the long run.
Well, as Ms. Amy said there, it was budgeted on 3%, as we can tell, only since September, and we had that budget number, so everything is going to be above our 3% from there on. On a monthly piece, something we're going to really need to keep our eye on in that facet.
Is the rate still going over? Is stock stabilizing? You don't want
No,
to-
it's going on. I have the rate history on the bottom of that debt schedule. And as you can see, it kind of goes down and then shoots back up and goes down, shoots back up.
But it's still going up now.
Yeah.
You draw a straight line right there.
What's there is down.
Yeah.
It won't take long. Yes, sir. 2 months.
That's.
That rate.
There's no doubt it's fixing to go up.
Well, the the great place our county is in this piece is it does not have a lot of debt in that area at this point. There won't be, it is debt, don't get me wrong, but it's not a huge amount that we are looking at in that case. So that is the good side of it, and we know where we stand on those pieces.
Their principle doesn't change, but that interest figure goes up monthly, if I'm not reading this wrong.
That is correct.
We'll say one thing to keep our eyes on here is this is one area that we have taken or pennies away from over the last two budgets. I'll have to look exactly. I believe we took 9 cents away from this past budget. And there was some taken from the budget before, so there has been some money removed from debt service over the last two budgets.
Absolutely. It's not looking like it's a good time to build a jail, though.
Very large increasing market. Which they were not already here. Problem there. 141, general purpose schools.
I have one question for sure on that. What was the tuition regular day that went up so much?
I cannot answer anything on their budget.
I was just about to say, I would say that's gonna be a question we're gonna have to send towards the school board. Dr. Saturday. However, that's,
Well, this is revenues, but still, we can do it. Then we can get more of it. And the miscellaneous, when that would be too.
miscellaneous refunds, that's the same question. I'll try to get those answered for us. For the next budget. Please.
Mine's very last, you're doing to big strings. Maybe some of that was under budget, and just some of that.
$650 on marriage license, it's not much to really talk about.
The percentage is. Well, all marriages must be being his own.
Are there any questions? Any other questions inside of 141? If not, there's our financial summaries we've gone through and all of our projected balances at this point. We will, next you'll see this finance committee is also purchasing. We have Q1 and Q2 in front of us here. This is usually done and has been done in the past in a quarterly meeting, if I'm not mistaken, which is something we will get back on track to going forward. At this point, we have purchasing. So our
deal of it's already under. Really, really down. With
Contract.
contract for
contract for a great deal of it, somebody,
I saw where Public Works purchased that lawnmower that he talked about needing.
What is the amount that our mayor is allowed to spend now before we get after him? Is it 10,000?
I saw it now, you said.
Oh, as far as bids and random purchases,
I'm sorry, I didn't read it.
your bid limit, right? Is that what you're asking for?
Yes,
It's 25,000. Mhm.
I've forgotten. We raised it, and I forget, there was a reason we raised that.
The state did.
Yeah, the state raised it.
Yeah, it was raised. I know it. I remember when it was 10.
So bids are only required on $25,000 at this point. Correct. Fortunately, our fuel seems to. Brought us back down just a bit of cost. The fuel cost is a little bit lower, so if our interest rates have gone up, maybe we'll make a little of that.
Well, there's three companies that you have to look at for your fuel.
I saw that.
So
Oh, as well, but the cost itself has decreased, and what we budgeted on was roughly a lot higher number at that point.
Yeah.
Are there any purchases on what we need to take a look at it and discuss further or have any more further information on?
She's pretty well got them all detailed as to what it's going to.
Thank you, Amy.
I try.
I don't see anything. That reached out and.
So is the vendor a happy place? Are they still doing our custodial services?
No, we switched over to Houghton Facility Services.
I seen two of them too.
Okay.
So the county buildings custodian has changed.
Mhm.
Down here to this.
You know how many autopsies they owe us for at this point?
They are up to date on reimbursements. I just got a bill in today from Forensic. I haven't compared inmate list on that yet.
If they do an autopsy on every 80 and everyone that dies, or there's something more than suspicious.
I don't
I just
know.
worried the state might be on all.
Now. People know
So-
that. I do.
I think most of the time, you know,
It's gonna be due.
they do the autopsy,
Yeah.
just as a matter of course.
On everything.
Right.
Just about, it's rare that it's even not do one. And we started moving that direction about 4 or 5 years ago, pretty good.
Questions here on anything in purchase, if you want to continue of the fiscal year 2023. Move forward.
These yearly contracts, that most of them is on the contract, are they usually yearly or 3
Most of them are annual.
annual?
I think the only one that's multi-year is James Carey, the inmate medical services.
Just by film order, we need to have it's not purchasing what was on the past meeting. Do we need anything on record saying that we looked at, and voted on, said we approved these purchases?
I don't think you have to do anything because they've already been approved. I think that the decision that needs to be looked at or something more closely, I think this body can look into it. But I don't think there's anything to approve that as a formal report. I'm not, it's all in the financial. It's right. You will approve that.
Yes, sir. Anything else? All right, we'll move on there to, we'll be moving into some of our budget amendments that we're looking at here. We got 101, OHFP, payment and archives. Request to amend the 101 general services. For the amount here of $10,326. Any questions? 10108 FB.
Is this putting somebody in there full time?
No, sir, this is covering their overtime. They're currently over on their overtime in the planning department.
Who is planning department there that we're discussing in this case?
The administrative assistant in that office has, our overtime is over
Over.
budget.
$2,000?
It's currently over by about $200, but extending it out through the year. I'm just trying to get ahead of it.
So it's not running.
What's-
$2,000.
Not currently,
What's causing the overtime? I just,
really making me uncomfortable here. The administrative assistant has been attending evening meetings.
okay, I mean, I just wanted you to take off some during the day to make up things in meetings or something. That was my.
It's not my office to make that decision. But this does include planning and archives and the data processing expenses coming out of fund balance.
Yeah, the 10,000 is not all overtime.
Correct.
Sure, you're on that.
What are the legal notices for?
That's the public hearings they have to publish in the paper for rezonings.
How many voice over IP phone should we still have available? I know we.
I do not have any extra phones available right now.
So that's it.
Mhm.
Okay.
The jail came through and cleared me out.
Understood. So these will be sitting there as spares, these things?
I have 6 lines that need a phone right now, and so I'll have 4 spares.
Actually, I guess. We would need to, let's look at that one here, vote on if we're, willing to. Send this one on with our approval or. No approval at all. Any motion on 101 08 at beach planning?
Is this the planning commission? Or is this John Oliver? I want to make sure I get
It's
it
different.
correct.
There are
It's
3,
3 different ones.
There's 3 different ones.
yes, sir.
All right, that's what was stolen me.
The archives is,
The archives has a microfiche machine that they bought with grant money last year. Apparently it came with a annual maintenance fee that I was not aware of. And so that's $1,300 of the 10,000.
That is the $1,300 contract services, that's gonna be yearly.
That is going to be annual. Yes, sir.
that was a fee that y'all wanted to worry a little bit.
Correct.
And what is that for exactly?
They have a microfiche equipment, I believe is what it's towards. I think it was a $7,500 purchase last year through the state archives through a grant program. And then, of course, after that, we are responsible for the maintenance fee of that.
How's it being utilized?
I do not know.
Are they gonna start putting signs up now on property that's gonna be
That's not.
rezoned?
That will be a discussion in commission.
That's part of
Oh, that's a good fact. Not
That's another discussion.
it. I know I really didn't know what to do.
so any,
That needs to be done.
any movement on this budget amendment?
I just said the planning overtime, I don't mind, I mean, maybe keep an eye on it if it keeps overtime a lot, I want to keep.
Currently, there's $200 on it, right?
Currently, it's 200 over.
And I mean,
I agree with that, but maybe it's well, yeah, 2,000.
I don't believe it's going to reach the 2,000. I'm just padding it quite a bit in case.
I'll make a motion to. We'll sit on improvements.
Second.
Motion second that we set this on the budget to as approved. Any discussion towards that motion?
I wish they were here to explain it a little better for us.
I think it's a good thing we would like to ask. But yeah. Any other discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. And opposed by saying no.
I'm gonna abstain. I'd like to know more about it, or just give the way it goes.
Technically on an abstain, do we have an abstain for cause or just an abstain as a no?
They're staying with council tonight.
Just what's it now? So it's one.
Just making something we talk about in our regular meeting next week too. Not going against it, I just want a little better understanding of what I'm seeing here.
All right, moving on, 101, 09, payment of entries. The amount of $12,500. We're seeing that word overtime pop up again.
Sheriff has been very short-staffed over in the jail.
Like you mentioned during the Christmas time, they've been well, short staffed.
Yes,
Do we know most of that overtime is already allocated?
I do not have that number readily available.
But you could get that to us.
I can get that to you in email this week. On the other portion of that, the senior center, that was actually a calculation error on my part when we passed the budget. Just in my Excel file, the formulas were wrong. I just need money moved over. It's coming straight out of the assistant. They haven't had an assistant for a couple of months now, so there is money available there just to move down to the benefits.
So we had a calculation error on benefits.
Yes. She currently does not. She has a part-time, but there is a full-time position available.
All right. Any more discussion on 101 and then entries here in this case? If not, any movement by this body?
I got one question about it. I looked at it, it says vacant guard position moved to overtime, to cover the overtime.
Yes, sir.
Is it because he didn't have enough guards there?
Correct, sir.
Yeah, he's short-handed on jailers and the other ones have to fill in, she else get opportunity.
Yeah, he's mentioned that to us. He was having to do a lot.
And I mean, I can shout for it, I'll go down there and make him a bone, I mean, he is like, they are short. I think he has hired a few. I'll make a motion, we approve it and send it on.
Second. Got a motion and a second to approve 109, that be increased, approved from the budget and finance, moving on. All those in favor, let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Any of that opposed by nay? 100% aye. Couple more here to look at. We got 101-10 G Senior Center grants.
This is a pretty big one. This is two different grants. One is from the ARPA funding that came from this one, GNRC. The first one is the GNRC. It's in addition to their current grant program. They are able to extend the grocery program for the senior center. This should cover from October through June of this year. The second portion, that is an extension of the previous grocery grant that we've been looking at over the past couple of years. And that's covering from April 2022 through September of 2022.
So the ARPA is an additional piece not coming out of what ARPA is now.
It is not our ARPA funding.
Correct. And the CARES Act is our CARES Act fund.
It is not, neither one of them are from the county's funding. These are both state grants.
So truthfully, this is not money that's coming from the counties in any way, it's coming as a state piece to
Correct.
our grocery program.
There's not a match, correct?
There is no match for us.
Since it's already coming in, I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion to approve in a second from Budget and Finance here. All those in favor, or any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed by nay? Ayes have it. We have a 141 out of the schools here, 02, transportation. $2,700.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion approved. Been made and seconded. All those in favor, let it be known by stating aye. Any opposed by nay? Ayes have it. Here's your ARPA funds and what we actually have there in the budget as of this point.
I do have one addition if I
Is there
could.
another addition?
And I'm sorry I didn't bring it up in the beginning. I think you and I talked about it. That's what took it off my to-do list. The park security cameras that was approved from the Public Works Committee, that will have both an ARPA approval and a budget amendment, both tied together. The ARPA approval is to approve that spending from those funds. The budget amendment is to bring those funds over to 101 and appropriate them to the parks.
16,000 is the change dollar.
I put it at 20,000 just to cover any incidentals, because we have never actually met a exact quote.
We need a
Are we-
motion on it.
I'm sorry,
You need a motion for that.
for a budget amendment and the ARPA spending, but we can talk about all that as we're going over this. It's depending on how the chairman would like to work it.
Yeah, I didn't mean you talked about it today, and I didn't know if you were gonna have it with us right here. If you're not.
I do have some handouts up here, just for the ARPA spending. I did not get the budget amendment printed out.
As we look at it going forward here. We asked Mr. Slee, and I don't know if. Mr. Slee's here by any chance, but we had asked Mr. Slee if this was still a current bid, because it had said 30 days.
Mhm.
He wasn't sure at that point if he was still honored. Do we, before we allocate money and say, hey, I'm great with it, don't get me wrong there in that case, but I want to make sure that we're not jumping into something that's gonna double,
Sure.
triple. If that'd be what we do. So think about that in our motion or conversation. We're talking $20,000 is what the budget's gonna be. We're going to improve both ways. I'm fine with that part moving forward. It is ARPA funding. Mr. Slee did, maybe not, the conversation the other day, I thought he said in his budget, in our public works committee, but it seems like it's gonna come out of ARPA funding.
It does need to come out of ARPA funds. He might have been confused in the conversations with me because, you're throw numbers around and you don't work with them, you don't fully understand. But yes, I had mentioned that those probably do need to come out of the ARPA funding. It's there. It's a great reason to spend that money, in my opinion. Just whatever you want to do.
For the ones that want the public works. Talking about put some better camera systems at the park. We will leave that with all their new lights and all this playground equipment they bring it in. This was supposed to be a facial recognition. Or what was that? Supposed to be like animals, something that's supposed to be like individuals supposed to get the facial record, and a vehicle recognition layers. It's supposed to be all throughout the park on all of it. It was something we really need. And it's the guy that gives the price at Cecil Hudson. And look at price, and I think like it's a pretty good price. Lonnie Hayred works in this kind of there too. He thought that was a good price. It's Cecil to give us there.
Public Works the other night was in favor of this. I will mention that. I know we don't have that information in front of us. The Public Works was in favor of moving this forward. I do believe it's a necessary piece for putting money into that park. It'd be nice to try to protect it and know what's going on with that park. And that piece right now, currently, if I understand it correctly, If something gets broke, then we go back and work. But right now, if something's happening currently, it comes straight to a phone or someone's computer, here's a notification that we got an issue or this is going on. So it seemed to be a very good move for us. I don't mind taking it that way. In this case here, that we look at it as approving the budget both ways. In this case, the ARPA funding allocation and moving it into the correct line item of it. If you're okay with that as a group, I'm okay with that as we move forward. Mr. Butler, you see anything wrong with that? I would entertain a motion that we approve this and moving the money from ARPA funding.
I make that motion.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the ARPA funding and line item allocation for the camera system that I think it's HSS, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
has submitted. Any discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, they can one by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is approved. I think that reaches us to all our budget amendments. We see our ARPA balances line item 5 here at the bottom. So right now that $1,384,747 would now be $20,000 shy of what we're talking about. Correct. Otherwise, therefore, we stand with nothing allocated at this point. Any discussion on the American Rescue Plan funding and where it's being?
Sounds like we're gonna get some more.
Hopefully, spend it to eight places. If not, okay.
I have something that I want to bring up. Of course, this is basically dealing with budget, but it also the full commission behind me to know too. It was brought to my attention today about the HVAC system at the courthouse. And I was requested to go and take a look at it. I was just appalled. Because of the way things were done, the courthouse itself is a total wreck in my eyes. I have taken pictures of it. It just makes me feel uncomfortable to know that we have paid all this money out for this. And of course, we paid it out up front to make sure that we could get that discount. But to what I see, and I know they're still working on it, but the hardwood floors are scratched, you know, there's stuff on the benches, the way the pipes are. And I had asked Amy to send me the actual contract, and I had went through it and highlighted different things that was in the contract that they have not done that they said that they would do. So if any of you have the chance or the opportunity, I would like to recommend that you go and take a look at the courthouse. I know we probably can't do it tonight, but I would love for all of us to go and tour it and see what is going on over there.
I think at this point, on the budget side of things here, we allocated those funds.
Right.
It definitely needs to be something, sounds like we need to look into going forward, but the budget piece of it, if I'm understanding correctly, has already actually been allocated and paid. I think you'll find that in the June commission, it was paid out and voted at 18-2 vote to pay that $800 and some change $1,000 out. I think it ended up being $803,000, right? That's what it was, $803,956. I'm here correct. Maybe 97.
What seems to be the holdup on it, Jack? What's holding up?
Part of it on the HVAC system is
Yeah.
the what's the word I'm looking for, supply chain. There's a major piece in it that they can't get. When I talked to Cliff about it, and we've had ongoing discussions about it, I don't think the subcontractors have been here since November, maybe the last day or so.
He mentioned in Public Works that they have not been here since Thanksgiving is what he had mentioned. I did hear you say there was.
Seems to me they've allocated maybe a half dozen or less young guys who were unsupervised, and they've just kind of monkeyed around, to be honest with you. And Cliff has tried to stay on top of it, but it's a matter. You know, Train is behind it. I mean, as far as a known company and licensed and bonded. But at some point in time, we'll have to take off the gloves, it appears.
That's my concern is I'm not pointing fingers at Cliff because Cliff's doing all he can do. My question was, had Train been there? Had anybody been supervising them? Because I'll be honest with you, I was in the basement looking at things and taking photos, and I could hear the workers upstairs, or they were outside, and the things that they were saying, I almost wished I had reported it, but I didn't.
So they are back working now.
There was workers over there today. I can speak for today because I did see them.
And I think we're gonna have to have a discussion soon with some authority figure and find out what's going on and get the bottom.
Yeah, that seems to be more the case here. On the budget side of things, though, we have allocated, I think there's a place in the conversation. I appreciate you bringing that attention because we, that's part of our ARPA funding, that's part of the money that was spent here. We want that money to be quality use.
And when Cliff talked to them about the damages they done on the floor, they said, we'll correct everything before we leave, but that's a matter of. Conversation.
Well,
I think it's time that you contact them, have a talk with them, get something. Get something from them. You can't get it in writing, at least get something from them, they're dragging their feet. I don't believe this, I'm not sure I believe it about the piece. If they're claiming they can't get it.
The more
They
serious,
got their money and they don't care. First of all, it should have been paid all there to start with. You never do that. I wouldn't do it. We shouldn't do it either. I can't help with it. I wouldn't do it. I think it's time that Jack needs to contact and see what's going on.
that.
Not the workers either, I'm talking about the company.
Yeah, that seems to be something we need to look into as we go forward in this case. I know if you go look at it, if you want to go find this information and what was early May and June is when that discussion came up and when we were voting on those pieces. If you want to go back and look in the archives and find those pieces, that's where you'll find what was voted on, those kinds of parts. I know, there was.
It'd be similar
We were
to.
told that it's in that as well. We were also told some of that, we're talking about destruction now. I know this is a little bit off budget, but there was supposed to be some removal as well. The boiler system out of the basement is supposed to be removed. That's supposed to be all gone. I understand it's not being gone, so there's some pieces to look into there to make sure we hold it to something. Unfortunately, we don't have money to hold over the contract. But I think that had to get us past our budget conversation in terms of the courthouse, just to be honest with you. As we look forward, any public comments over budget that we've discussed here tonight? I'd like to be fine. Yeah, I might have any comments. If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Like motion.
Motion made and seconded, if not be discussed here. All those in favor, let me say aye.
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 This guy.
We are.